Okay, everybody, we have version 14.1.7 of FSD in my Cybertruck. We're going to test this for a quick drive around the Georgetown area of Austin. So this is about half an hour, 45 minutes north of Austin. We're going to go to Georgetown from an H-E-B parking lot, which is a grocery chain. And we're going to go ahead and put it in Mad Max mode. As you can see right here, it's on Mad Max because we're not going to waste our time. Mad Max, for those that are not familiar, is... Actually, let me back up, because there might be new people watching this that have no idea what I'm talking about. Hello, I am in a Tesla Cybertruck. I just got the latest version of FSD v14. What's special about this version is that this is, it looks like to be the best version that Tesla has released for self-driving. As you can see, you shouldn't be able to see me interact with the pedals or the steering wheel. You probably saw the truck pull itself out of this parking lot. And now we're going to go to a destination that's about 19 minutes away from where we are. And the idea here is that the truck's going to drive itself to that location without me having to do anything. And Mad Max mode is a version that's very, let's say, assertive in its approach. And that exit of the parking lot was a perfect example of that. We had some blocked traffic there. The middle lane was sort of blocking our ability to see who was coming, but you could kind of make out some of the cars that were coming across. So the trucks saw that as well. So yeah, can you tell I'm excited? I've been waiting for this version on the truck forever. With the Cybertruck specifically, Tesla has had this thing out for a couple of years, but it's been behind in the versions for self-driving technology. Not as far behind as the hardware 3 vehicles that Tesla offers, which are their older cars. This is a hardware 4 vehicle, an FSD hardware 4 or AI 4, which is what Tesla calls it, which is their latest chip. And what's exciting about this is that this latest chip, this hardware 4, AI 4, whatever you want to call it, should be capable of doing self-driving like it's doing right now, but without me having to pay attention with a future software update that hopefully will come here in the next month or two. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just testing the capabilities of the feature set. I'm looking to see how smooth it is, how assertive it is, how safe it is. Right now we have a ride on red, which it takes no problem. And it's going to take us over. This is Highway 29. Highway 29 going eastward is, it's kind of gets busy during rush hour, but it's not the most challenging environment. I do have it on Mad Max, which means that this car should go, let's say, above the speed limit by some number. We'll see if it's going to track traffic or go faster than traffic or not. And then the other thing about the Mad Max mode that we have it on right now is that it's also going to try to pick the fastest way to our location, meaning that it's going to try and pick the lane that has the least amount of traffic. Right now, what's interesting about this, I didn't even know we were going to face this, but there is a flagger. So there's going to be a guy up there with a flag. So you can see right here, there is a, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but on the right here, we have a sign for somebody with a flag. The truck went to the left, now I went to the right lane, probably because it saw there was less traffic here. And we'll see if we're actually going to face a flagger here, up here. These are the people with like the, the stop sign and the yield sign or whatever that they switch it around. They're obviously doing some construction work over here. Yeah, so far, nothing too challenging, but it's pretty smooth. It is pretty trafficy, so I haven't really experienced any of the crazy maneuvers that Mad Max has shown for other people, where it kind of like, it's a reference to the movie where, you're going like crazy down the desert and, just don't care how fast you're going, just get to the spot, right? And that's sort of the idea behind Mad Max, is it gets you to the spot as quickly as possible. So we'll see how it performs in this little bit more trafficy area. And then when we reach our destination, I actually have it set up so that I'm actually going to have it park on the street. So you can actually choose where you want your truck to park once you reach your destination. You can say parking lot, you can say street, or you can say curbside. So I'm actually going to try to park on the street because the location we're going to is a restaurant that's you'll be able to just park anywhere on the street in theory. So we'll see how it approaches that scenario. So yeah, this was a long time coming. Very, very excited. I know a lot of you that watch my channel or watch it to sort of understand where Tesla's headed, how it's performing, this self-driving technology that they've been releasing. Right up to this point, I have had to, just experience the latest version of self-driving by just watching other people's videos and trying to figure out if it's performing better or worse than the previous versions. And then what's special about this version is that it seems like it's outperforming every other version. Those talking heads that I do where it's facing me, so instead of, this is a new vantage point, right? So instead of the camera being here facing me, we're actually facing out, so you can actually see what I experience anytime I make those Cybertruck videos where I'm just, talking to myself. And unfortunately for you, you get to come along for the ride. So now you get to experience what I see from my perspective, from where I am. And this is what it looks like. I mean, even with the previous version, V13, this is what it would look like. I would just sit here and just kind of let the truck do its thing. I would put my destination in, and then the truck would take me there. But with this specific version, the ability to park at the location is the big breakthrough. So leaving from a parking spot and arriving to a parking spot, or leaving from a parking lot and arriving to a parking lot or a parking deck. Now, I don't think it's perfect yet. They're still smoothing out some things from that perspective, but just having that capability there is going to be a really big deal. So I'm very excited to see how that works. Hopefully we get hopefully the truck parks as we told it to. Let me make sure it's at street. Yeah, so it's parking at the street. And so that's one big thing. But the next step that's really going to take this to the true next level is going to be unsupervised. So instead of me sitting here, I'm still responsible for the system. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a little green light right here, right next to the temperature. It's 72 degrees and sunny right now, by the way, in beautiful Georgetown, Texas. The weather these last few weeks has been just perfect. And we're going to have it perfect probably for the next 4 to 5 months or so. But that green light means that this camera right here is on. And that camera is paying attention to me to make sure that I am paying attention. Okay, we got some cones up here. The Cybertruck's already signaling to go to the left. We got a minivan on our left here that's giving us some room. It should just go over now. And it is. Okay, perfect. So we're just waiting for the merge point and it went over. As you can see, I didn't have to do anything. So that's great. So this green light means that this camera is on. So it's paying attention to me to make sure that I'm paying attention. If I look away for too long, right, and which I don't want to do, or if I'm like on my phone, the system will yell at me. It will say, hey, pay attention. What are you doing? Pay attention. Elon and Tesla say that they're going to, I don't know if you can hear my baby back there, but we're going for a ride along. We're going for FSD ride along. The Elon and Tesla say that in the next month or two, the system should be able to allow you to text and drive. Now, that's illegal. Oh, shit. In the previous videos, I said if I actually were to do that and say the system was able to do that, a cop, if he drives by me or she drives next to me and they see me on my phone while the car's driving me around, they're going to be like, number one, what are you doing? And number two, here's a ticket, because that's this distracted driving. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Tesla will have the capability, will have the technology to allow a system to essentially allow you to text and drive, which has a lot of future implications. And the biggest one of which is that once regulation catches up and you are, like, let's say I am able to either look at my phone or sit on the passenger seat and let the car do its thing, maybe the regulation says if you want the car to be in self-driving mode, you can't be in the driver's seat, you have to be in the passenger seat. Okay, fine. Once we get to that point, these vehicles become transportation units that can work as long as they're not charging or as long as they don't have maintenance. One of the biggest limiting factors for vehicles is the ability for the human to be able to get behind this machine and take it from point A to point B. In most regular situations where like you or I own a vehicle, the utility of that vehicle is actually a lot less than what it's actually designed for. Meaning, on average, when somebody buys a car, they're not driving it the whole time. Most of the time, it's sitting in their driveway. So think about when you sleep, think about when you go to work, think about when you're at home. Most of the time, that vehicle is just sitting idle, doing nothing. It's literally doing nothing. It's just chilling, soaking up the sun, soaking up the snow, soaking up the rain, soaking up the moonlight, you know? It's just like, I don't know. On average, I'm pretty sure, I have to go back and check this, but on average, a vehicle, like for an average person, gets used like, I don't know, 2 hours a day max, if that. That's if you're somebody who has a decent commute. If you don't have a decent commute, it's probably even less. You probably use it for less than an hour. And part of it is because, obviously people don't really like to drive because driving is a stressful endeavor. You have to deal with other people on the road that probably shouldn't be driving. That's a decent percentage of drivers, unfortunately, especially in Texas. But the point there is that most people aren't really utilizing their car all the time. So when you have a system like this right now where I haven't had to do anything so far, and it's continuing to get better to the point where I'm not going to have to pay attention, if I don't have to pay attention, I don't have to be in the car. And if I don't have to be in the car, then the car can go drive on my behalf, or it can just go drive on its behalf. Like once these things become sentient or whatever, if you want to go down that freaking apocalyptic path or whatever. But what that really means is that now what used to be something that would cost, let's say, this truck was $70,000 when I bought it. So without self-driving technology and without somebody using it as a work truck where they have a shift of drivers going in and out of the truck and moving stuff around, if it's just me owning it, the utility of that truck is actually quite low because most of the time it's going to just sit in my driveway. It's going to sit, somewhere. It's not going to be out there doing work. With self-driving, that $70,000 car or truck, in essence, is going to have 5 times or more utility because I don't have to be in the truck to move it from point A to point B so it can fulfill its role as a truck. So all of a sudden, the cost to build this is exactly the same. It's just a software update. Literally, it's just a software update that they sent to the cars to change the value proposition of the car or the truck. The cost is the same, but the amount of money you can make from the truck is at least 5 times more, right? So what does that do? That is going to enable all these Tesla vehicles to all of a sudden become a lot more valuable because they're able to drive themselves. And so now the question is going to be, how much of that capability is going to be used by people, right? So for example, if this actually becomes a thing where you don't have to pay attention, in theory, because the cost of the truck is the same, or let's use a Model Y, like a Tesla Model Y as an example, which costs about $30,000 to build. If the cost is the same, but it can do 5 times more rides or 10 times more rides, in theory, the cost per ride is going to go down. Let me switch the song up here for my baby. He's getting a little... He loves Metallica, by the way. Not great. He loves listening to Metallica. It's the best. I'm so proud. One of 2 things could happen with the price. If people really take that on, that's going to drive deflation. That's going to make the cost of each ride much lower. But if there's a lot of demand for that service because people are like, holy shit, this thing's like self-driving itself, then what that could mean is that, wow, all of a sudden people are going to pay Uber prices to get driven around, and the money this system could make is actually significantly more than a competing Uber or a taxi, because now you don't have the driver in the driver's seat, and the cost of operation is going to be much less because you're not paying that person, but you're getting paid the same amount of money. And if you're getting paid the same amount of money, the difference between the money you pay and the cost of operation becomes your profit, and that profit is going to be significantly higher than any competing company because it doesn't cost you that much to make this car and operate it. So, and that's the huge thing that we're going to have to look out for. If you're a Tesla investor, if you're somebody who's a fan of this technology, that's the big variable here, is how is this thing going to get adopted? Who is going to hail this vehicle, and for how much? The crazy thing is, if you look at some of the early data from places like San Francisco, and I don't want to think this way because it, not investor or financial advice, but what it points to is that Tesla Robotaxi is going to make a filthy amount of money. But I'm going to assume that's not going to be the case. I'm going to assume that that's not going to be the case. It's going to be something else. But the signs out of San Francisco, what we're seeing is that where they have Waymo, Uber, and Lyft. Waymo is now doing more rides than Lyft, okay? But it's doing them at a 30% higher price than Uber. So it's already the second biggest ride-hail service in the areas that it operates in San Francisco. So that's one. And then the amount of money people are willing to pay for it is more than Uber. And the reason why, it's because it offers a superior experience. It offers a better experience. And the reason why it offers a better experience, it's because if you really think about it, when you get into a Waymo or a Tesla Robotaxi, once they yank the safety riders, right? You're just in a transportation unit all to yourself. You don't have another driver you have to worry about. And then you also have a pretty nice car. It's a very consistent service. You get the same exact car every time. When you sync your app to the car, when you get into the car, it's going to play your music right away. It's going to have the cabin at exactly the temperature that you want the cabin to be at. It's going to have the lighting exactly how, mine matches the album cover. So right now it's yellow. Okay. And then, in future updates, I'm sure like with reclining seats and whatever, it might have like the cooling thing on. It might have it recline at a specific level, so on and so forth, right? It might have your favorite movie on the screen for you to watch. You can sort of preset. And so in theory, all those features are luxurious. Like that's a luxurious feature set. It's like a luxury feature set. It's something that Uber really can't provide unless you're willing to pay for it. That's where you get into Uber Premium and all that stuff. But that stuff is way, way, way expensive. It's like 4 or 5 times more than your regular Uber X ride, like your regular Uber drives, right? And so if that's the case, then in theory, something like a Robotaxi could like cost to the consumer the same or more than an Uber and a Waymo. And if that's the case, maybe the adoption is not as much as maybe perhaps it could be, but the amount of money Tesla would make is astronomical. The cost of running a Model Y Robotaxi without the safety rider, as we'll make a left here, this thing's just, it's been a pretty easy drive, but you can kind of see what I'm talking about now, right? Like this is pretty fucking special. Okay, so we're reaching our destination, and then I'll talk about the math as we go back to our location. The cost of operating a Robotaxi is going to be about 50 cents per mile. And the price per Uber on average, okay, so here we got, it's just going to pull over to the right and park us, I think. Yep. All right, so we got some parking lines here. Going to get us right next to the curb. And parked. Okay, let's check on the cameras how it looks. Let's see. Okay. No complaints, I guess, right? It seems like we're right in between the lines. So here's that one space. Well, it is a pretty big truck. So yeah, now let's see the line in front of us. So we're slotted right perfectly in the thing. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's go to HEB. So we're going to go back to HEB, and all I got to do is I just put in my destination and I hit self-driving and off we go. And we got a little bit of traffic coming, and it's just waiting for the traffic here to clear, and it goes on its merry way. Perfect. So going back to my point, if the cost of the car is about 50 cents per mile, but the price is going to be Uber pricing, which is about $2.60 per mile, Tesla pockets $2 per mile in profit. Okay? And the reason why it's 50 cents per mile, again, for a Model Y to operate, it's because there's no driver. And so all you're paying for is electricity, insurance, perfect, no problem here. Electricity, insurance, maintenance. Electric vehicles don't cost that much to operate, especially in relation to gas cars. We've seen a lot of studies like that on the channel. So your cost to operate the vehicle is going to be quite low. And because you don't have to pay a driver, right, the cost of labor goes to zero. And if your technology is really good, your self-driving technology is really good, then what that means is that the number of people you're going to have at the headquarters teleoperating or, supervising the cars to make sure they're not doing something stupid, the ratio of those people to the amount of cars on the road is going to be very low. So for every 100 robotaxis, you might employ one person at the headquarters, or for every 1,000 robotaxis, you might have one person at the headquarters, right? Here we got an interesting place. So we got a Mustang there. It looks like he's giving us room. Thank you very much. And the truck is taking the opportunity. Thank you very much for waiting for me. And then here it's biasing to the right to make a little bit of room for this Model Y. And then it's going to bias back to the left. Perfect. And we got a right lane. Yeah, I mean, so far this has been a piece of cake. I'm going to do more drives here for the system just to see how it performs. And I'm going to do more today and more tomorrow, actually. So this is going to be the first of a bunch of different Cybertruck videos on FSD. So anyway, so that's one thing. But so massive profit. But on the flip side, Tesla has a unique capability that nobody else has, which is to dump, literally dump, millions of cars per year that have this capability of self-driving. So when you do that is you massively increase the supply of that service. You increase the supply of self-driving units. And what usually happens when you massively increase the supply of self-driving units relative to the demand of that self-driving unit is that prices will come down, right? Prices, it's just supply and demand. When you have a lot of demand for something, but you don't have a lot of that thing, prices go up. If you have a lot of the thing, but you don't have as much demand to match that supply, prices come down. And the reason prices come down is to try and find more customers that will be willing to take that service. Okay? And so the big question of our time is going to be how many people are going to be willing to ride hail a self-driving Tesla? That's the question of our time as it pertains to the robotaxi. But also, the other question is how many people are also going to be willing to buy the car outright that can drive itself just like this one? And the more people are willing to do that, the higher the prices are going to be, which means more profit for Tesla. Here we got, look, this is great. We have a green light, and the truck is waiting for the traffic to clear ahead of it so that it doesn't block the box here, which is phenomenal. I don't think, places like New York and cities have, like very obvious laws about this. Here, it's illegal to block the box, obviously, but seems like a lot of people like to do it anyway. But the truck's doing a good job. Probably has room up there, honestly. It's probably not it's going to be tight, but you can tell that the car is waiting for the sort of traffic to clear a little bit more. We still got a green light. Hi, Bubba. Okay, there we go. And the traffic started moving slightly, and the truck went ahead and cleared the intersection, which is great. Yeah, so that's going to be the question. How many people are going to be willing to take on this technology, to actually buy it? And the more people buy it and the more people use it, the higher the prices are going to be. The other side of this too is when we're thinking about some of the recent things that Tesla has released around its, they have this rental thing now in select markets. Clivey, what's going on back there? Select markets where they're allowing people to rent a car for $60 a day for at least 3 days and up to a week, $60 a day. Those cars are going to come with self-driving. Okay? And so those cars, and it's also going to come with free charging at superchargers. So now you're creating this incentive for people to also use these cars, not just as a ride hail, but as a subscription. And as this self-driving technology becomes better and better, you don't have to pay attention, then more people can use that kind of product, right? And if more people can use that kind of product relative to Tesla's ability to ramp production, then the prices go up. This is why Elon in his recent earnings thing, so the shareholder meeting last week, that's why he said that Tesla is getting ready to massively ramp production to their target of 5 million units per year by the year of 2028. So they're going to try to more than double their production in the next 2 to 3 years. And that's going to be in response to what they think is going to be the massive amount of demand that's going to come from having self-driving transportation units. Okay? So one would have to think that as the supply gets ramped, the supply-demand dynamic is probably going to favor the demand side, meaning that prices will be higher because there's not going to be as many units out there to be able to satiate the demand for the service. That's what it tells me, which means Tesla's going to have higher profits and higher margins. But then their eventual goal, Clavi, you having fun back there? Their eventual goal is going to be to permeate the world with self-driving units so that the cost of per mile of the service goes sub $1 per mile to the consumer, to the customer. Without a doubt, that's going to be their long-term goal because that's their competitive advantage. Their competitive advantage is the scale to be able to put that many units out there that's going to drive the price down. But if for the time being, there's no one else out there competing, like Waymo's out there, but Waymo has something like 2,000, 2,200 cars in operation. It's fantastic that they have that many cars. It really is awesome, but they're limited by supply massively. Waymo can't make 2 million self-driving units per year. Waymo has to partner with Zeekr to maybe make 10,000 units in 2027. And by 2027, Tesla's going to be making somewhere like 4 million units per year, 3 million units per year. So that seems untenable. That seems like Waymo is going to be in a very interesting situation where they're not going to have enough units to compete with a company like Tesla. Oh, excuse me. So that's going to be fascinating to see. Now, what's interesting about the Waymo equation is, they're hoping that their technology can be a bolt-on. They can sort of like pick it up from a Jaguar and put it like the Jaguar I-Pace and plug it into a Zeekr and plug it into a Hyundai and plug it into what? So their thought process is that the sensor suite is going to be flexible across multiple vehicle platforms. And so if that's the case, then that gives them, that's good, because that's going to allow them to at least put their solution on other cars. But again, the problem is that they're going to be dependent on third-party vehicles that are not really designed for the ground up for their self-driving system. And then on top of that, those vehicles, the production capacity is tied to a legacy automaker that is not going to be nearly as fast and as good as creating those units as a Tesla. Now, the Chinese manufacturers are a different story because the Chinese manufacturers are, they're ahead of the United States when it comes to rapid manufacturing, large-scale manufacturing in some senses. Tesla, the big exception here. But from that lens, Waymo is kind of like the Android of self-driving, where they're hoping that their self-driving system gets to a point that it's easy to plug and play on different systems. But each system is going to have its own set of unique testing and sort of idiosyncrasies. The scale of Waymo, their way to scale their product is going to be significantly harder than Tesla because they have to account for all these different complexities. They have a complexity in the sensor suite, but they also have a complexity with their supply base, with who can provide the car, what kind of car am I getting, is my sensor suite optimized for that car? And then on top of that, because they're self-drive, here we got a yellow light and it's braking. Okay, this was perfect. This was very well done. They're, what was I saying? Oh, the complexity. They're going to have complexity from a manufacturing perspective because they're going to have to account for the different cars that are being made. The sensor suite, they have more than just vision. They have LiDAR, radar, ultrasonics. This car has been driving itself with just cameras, 8 cameras around the car. And again, I haven't had to do anything so far. Literally, it's taking you from parking spot to parking spot. And on top of that, the system that Tesla has released with FSD, it's going to allow them to not have to use maps, HD maps, to operate in the geofences that they want as a robotaxi, or even as unsupervised, which means that their ability to go into different regions is going to be much faster and much easier because they don't have to map every nook and cranny of the areas that they're going to. Whereas Waymo has to as well. So Waymo has complexity upon complexity upon complexity. And on top of that, they don't own the supply chain. They don't own the manufacturing capacity. So they can't just go to Hyundai and be like, yo, build more cars. They can be like, yo, we could use more cars. But what they have to do is, like, if, say, Hyundai falls behind, then they have to go to, I don't know, Kia. If Kia falls, which, by the way, they're the same company, Hyundai, Kia. If Kia falls behind, they have to go to Ford. If Ford falls behind, they have to go to Zeekr. And all of these are separate entities. All of these are separate companies. They're all doing different things. Okay? So it's like, when you don't own your entire stack and you have a lot of complexity to begin with, and which drives costs, by the way. That's going to make their solution higher price and cost more to operate. Compare that to what Tesla has done, which is they have a 2 million unit capacity, at least. Next year, they hope to get to 2.6, 2.7 million units run rate at the end of the year, meaning 2.7 million units per year they're looking to build out of their factories moving forward from that point. But then they're going to increase that rate in 2027. Tesla owns that entire thing, and they control the cost, and they can dictate how many cars they want to make because they are the ones who make them. And they have optimized the software and the chip in the car and the car itself to be self-driving from the ground up. This is from like 2017. They've worked to where the car is going to drive itself from the ground up. And they've built that supply chain and the manufacturing capacity over the last 7-8 years to be able to crank out more than 2 million units per year. And so this is what the car and the truck is doing right now is a result of work that they've been working on from the last 7 to 8 years. And Waymo has been at it longer, right? But Waymo's approach, their big downfall is going to be their ability to scale relative to Tesla, right? They're still going to introduce more regions. They're going to introduce more cars, which is great, and they should. I really hope Waymo is successful. But their big challenge is going to be, how are you going to compete with a direct competitor that can build millions of units per year of these self-driving units, to where Waymo is likely going to be capped in the next couple years to 10,000. That's the challenge. That's just the truth. And when I talk about this, sometimes I'll get hate. Be like, oh, you just hate Waymo, you hate Google, you're a Tesla fanboy. Anything Elon says, you're like, whatever, this is going to happen. Okay, bro, just look, just look, just pay attention. Just look at the reality of the situation and then tell me if I'm wrong. Analyze the landscape, and then after analyzing the landscape, tell me where I'm wrong. And usually when that gets proposed, it's impossible to come out with a rebuttal because what I'm saying is correct. Okay? And I hate that it is, but it is. It's correct, right? And that's why people invest in Tesla. That's why people are big fans of the company. That's why people are big fans of Elon Musk, because of stuff like this. As we're trapped behind this guy going 57 and a 65, and this guy on the left doesn't want to pass that guy. Welcome to Texas. There you go, see? The most Texas thing of all time. The most Texas thing of all time. Makes no sense. I don't even understand how people drive here. Like, it just blows my mind. Anyway, whatever. Enough ranting. We're about 4 minutes away from our destination. We're going back to the HEB. Again, this was not a super challenging drive, but I definitely wanted to test the capability. It's smooth. I'm on Mad Max mode, you guys, and it's like, this drives exactly how I would drive. I learned how to drive in the Northeast and Eastern Pennsylvania, and I would drive in New Jersey, New York all the time. So, I would categorize my driving as Mad Max as standard. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with how Mad Max drives, and I completely understand why. But I think this type of mode is going to excel in the Northeast, and I'm really excited to hear the reviews from people that are in New Jersey, New York, Eastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, sort of like DC, are more aggressive drivers, let's say. I'm curious to hear their take on how, what they think of this software stack. Okay, 3 minutes away, 1.6 miles, 1.5 miles. This has been great. 0 complaints. Lane selection has been fine. I've been able to just go on a rant for the last, 40 minutes, and it feels like an hour, and haven't really had to worry about anything on the road. Everything has been very smooth. This is great. Like, it really, man. I wish more people got to experience this. I really hope Tesla can figure out how to, like, do some sort of education or marketing campaign to let people know that this is like, not just exists. Oh, this guy is crazy. My goodness. I don't know if you guys saw that, but this guy almost, I don't even know what he was trying to do, honestly. I'm not even going to worry about it. But yeah, FSD is just, I really hope more people get to experience it, more people get to use it. I think it's a massive stress reliever. It's a huge quality of life improvement. It makes road trips super, super easy. Once you don't really have to pay attention anymore for this thing to get you from point A to point B, it's going to remove a lot of friction for long distance travel. I think it's over the long term, it's going to replace your more regional flights. You know, why fly from Boston to New York when you can just hop on a Tesla that drives itself and you don't have to pay attention, and the cost to go there is going to be less than a plane ticket, and you have the car all to yourself. You can take a nap in the car. It's going to be super expensive. It's going to have your music. It's going to have your AC set exactly how you want it. Again, like, it's an insanely valuable value proposition. You know, Dallas to Austin, Austin to Houston, you know, all these different things. Atlanta to, I don't know, freaking, where's Atlanta close to? Nashville? No, Nashville's kind of far, eh? Atlanta to somewhere in Florida. I don't know, pick a spot. The entirety of the Northeast is like going to be interconnected with Robotaxi, and is going to make travel from point A to point B much easier, okay? Yeah, so it's very exciting. I'm curious to see where this is going to park now. We have it set as a parking lot. So the dot is on the side of the building, and it looks like it's going to go to the to the pickup zone, like the curbside pickup, which technically shouldn't be parking there. So we'll see what it'll do. In theory, it should be going in here. It should be going in this sort of parking lot area. And we'll see if it's going to do that. But my guess is that it's not going to do that. Is that it's just going to go as close to the landing spot as possible, which would technically be incorrect. And that's exactly what it's doing. Okay. Yeah, so that's so we've got somebody pulling out, which the car stops for. This was great. Very good. Yeah, I mean, the way this thing drives is like so solid. It's so solid. So I'm just going to see what it does. Okay. All right. So apparently we're here to pick up from HEB, and actually, is it going to back up? Yeah, it's going to back up. Okay. So we're picking up, I guess, the car things. We're picking up some food from HEB. Let's see how it parks. Centered, curb, perfect. I mean, perfection. Okay, everybody, we're going to end it there. Thank you very much for watching. This was fantastic. A lot more to come. Love you guys. Bye.